Disasters, going by the rate at which they occur in societies today, leave much to be desired. Whether man-made or natural, they occur unannounced. However, when disaster strikes, it leaves on its wake colossal human and material destruction. At other times, it leads to massive displacement of people, as well as heavy economic losses. Sometimes, the alteration made to livelihood may take a very long time to normalize. Even the cost of resettling may even be higher and expensive than the actual cost of the disasters. Paramount among the disasters that pose great threats to our lives today are fire, flood, and explosion, with attendant suffering and highly uncomfortable consequences. As an industrial, economic, and commercial hub, Lagos State has witnessed a relatively long period of stability and peace. Perhaps these factors, to a considerable extent, contributed to the foremost economic status the state enjoys and the entire West African sub-region. The peace and stability guaranteed by the state, along with its former political status, attracted small, medium, and large-scale entrepreneurs, while also facilitating big-time commercial exchanges. It was as such that even after more than a decade of moving to the federal capital, to Abuja, the state proudly combines its extensive economic base with peace and stability to further strengthen its economic position as Nigeria's economic base. On the 27th of January 2002, a day already christened Black Sunday, the cherished peace and tranquility of the state was given a rude interruption. On that day, the armory at the Ikeja military cantonment went up in huge balls of fire, sending earth-shaking explosions across the length and breadth of the city of Lagos, while the residents scampered for safety. In the commotion and stampede that followed, precious lives were lost, numerous valuable property destroyed, an unspecified but great number of people displaced. Okeafa, the canal of death, will for a long time bring forth painful and sad memories of the unfortunate and untimely departure of loved ones. As a matter of fact, the explosions remained one, if not the costliest disasters that befell any state in Nigerian Federation. There was hardly any group that was not affected. From private to industrial establishments, educational institutions, among others, were all touched. Indeed, the losses were very colossal. A year and a week later, and as the state government was feeling it was getting out of the liabilities the January 27th bomb blast cast on it, another one happened. First, there was smoke filtering into the morning sky in the crowded neighborhood of Idumagbo Avenue, Dosumu Street and Pedro Street, all on Lagos Island, Nigeria's commercial and financial engine room. Then hair-splitting and earth-shaking explosions went off between houses number 24 and 26 Idumagbo Avenue, and then another explosion followed. Immediately and unexpectedly, there was confusion and panic as two three-story buildings on 28 Idumagbo Avenue and 12 Pedro Street came down, forming heaps of rubble. Dust and smoke filled the air as everyone within that vicinity scampered for safety. Immediately, casualty figures increased sharply, and at the last count, no fewer than 20 people were confirmed dead. Unconfirmed numbers wounded, but some were trapped inside the rubbles. Emotions ran high as rescue efforts were stepped up by the combined team of the state medical officers, firefighters, the Red Cross, Federal Road Safety Corps, and other volunteers. Credit indeed must be given for these patriotic undertakings in spite of the hindrance posed by the activities of area boys. The Idumagbo explosion is but one of the numerous problems the state has been visited with in recent times. Although the extreme consequences are already with us, the causes of the explosions are yet to be confirmed. But if the information from the police bomb disposal unit is anything to go by, then someone, somewhere, must be preparing to face the wrath of public opinion. Yet the question is, who stockpiled volatile objects like bombs of whatever grade in such a densely populated areas as Idumagbo and Pedro streets? As a matter of fact, why should bombs be kept in a residential area, even if it is commercialized? Indeed, such an action as this confirms one major problem confronting us today, that of gross insensitivity, selfishness, greed, and unconcerned disposition towards our fellow beings. Unfortunately, this is killing us gradually, but the present administration has resolved to put a stop to the indiscriminate construction of houses. Above this, the Idumagbo explosion once again brought to focus the gross violation of physical planning laws of the state. In an attempt to make more money, unapproved structures constructed substandardly deface our landscape today. Also, unapproved use of residential areas for commercial purposes and the conversion of residential buildings for offices, as well as for buying and selling activities without authorized approvals, are too rampant and common. This could partly explain why bombs could be stored where people lay their heads at night and nobody gives a hoot. On State on Focus tonight, we say it is time for a pragmatic approach to this flagrant disregard for town planning rules and regulations. The government body that is concerned mostly is the Urban Renewal and Regional Planning Board. As a matter of urgency, the board should begin to look critically into all constructions and conversions of structures, particularly within the Lagos Island local government area.
The one that happened on February 3rd at Idumagbo, that is what we call force majeure. It was not, it was something beyond anybody's comprehension initially because we didn't know it was going to happen. So it wasn't because of the structural integrity of the buildings that the collapse occurred. But you see, long before then, as far back as year 2000, the state government set up a standing committee on collapse of buildings, and that was, I mean, it's a body of multidisciplinary professionals headed by an erudite engineer, a very sound mind, an Imperial College graduate in engineering, and they've been doing their job very perfectly well. They've handled several cases. Prominent amongst them was the collapsed structure at Eleganza compound at on Lekki Expressway. Also, another church at Akoka, amongst several others. And they made sure that they found the immediate and remote causes of the collapse, and then ensured that those dead, the families were compensated, and then those companies, those builders and developers were made to at least ameliorate the situation, and where they had to remove the entire structure, they've had to.
Well, like I keep telling people, this is an administration that is common only 3.5 years ago. The Idumagbo situation and situations around Lagos, they've been there for the past 37 years. So what we have come to do is what you would call salvage planning. What has been done, has been bad before, we've come here to correct them. It's not like, we're emanating, we're promulgating new laws. The laws have been there. It's just that enforcement had not been a part of the governance for the past 37 years. So this government came in and thought, well, let us regularize whatever anomalies have been done in the past. And believe me sincerely, even 8 years of this administration can never regularize. I'm not saying that it's going to take 37 more years to regularize. What we have started, the administration has started on a very, very good note by creating the Office of Physical Planning first. And only a month ago, turning it into a full-fledged Ministry of Physical Planning. That means that the administration is aware of the fact that we have physical development problems in this state, which has to be tackled. This is the first time in the history of this state that a ministry has been created especially for the policing of the environment physically.
Quite lucky that the structures, most of them are still standing there today because of the type of mixed aggregates, the type of building approach adopted by the builders. That is not to say that there are no one or two other things to be done. For example, most of them were erected without an approved building plan. The whole area is zoned residential, but they are all only built commercial. But that is neither here nor there. With approval, the disaster could still have happened. But this is an opportunity to now let members of the public know the need for them to obtain building plan approvals, have proper records. If there have been approvals, for example, they will have been advised by the district office, the relevant district office, to go for, when you have a commercial venture of such, there are, insurance provisions that you go into arrangements with these insurance firms so as to at least minimize this type of losses and costs, But by and large, to come back to the question of illegal structures springing up, please don't forget that Lagos presently, as it is, though ceased to be the administrative capital of Nigeria a few years back, is still very much the commercial nerve center of Nigeria. But in the recent past, studies conducted by this board has revealed that as a matter of fact, we now have to cope with so much of heterogeneous population that are beyond the Nigerian nation. You have people from Zaire, people from Senegal, people from Cote d'Ivoire, people from Republic of Benin, and so on and so forth. In a very high number.